E aí, pessoas? Como é que vocês estão? Tudo bom? Eu sou a Alexa e estamos de volta aqui para mais um episódio de As Lembranças de Edith Finch. E estamos aí em busca, né? Estamos quase finalizando. Temos aí mais umas 5 histórias. Acredito que não leve muito mais tempo, mas vamos ver aonde é que isso vai dar, não é mesmo? Estou aí ainda meio me recuperando da história do Gregory. Mas vai dar certo. Confia, confia. Vem com a gente que confia. Confia. Vamos conhecer a história do Down. Ou não, né? Porque não tem nada na cama dele.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
Poema para o Gus.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Ah, é dali onde a gente
When the time for
tava, né?
photos came, Dad ordered him to
Come
come
here.
But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Carai, delicado, achei.
The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
Entendo. O que tem aqui? Opa.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Deixa eu ver o conforto do dia. Parecia que ninguém parecia ter medo. A natureza poderia destruir a tenda que o nosso pai tinha feito rusticamente.
The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
Eu sou muito perto. Gente,
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't, until we found you. She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Eita. Ele morreu no meio da tempestade porque o pai tava casando e não pensou na criança que tava lá fora. Enfim. Revoltada fiquei, desculpa. Gus. Greg.
My
Oh,
mom
it
moved up
looks
to the
like-
loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Era o quarto dela? Não, da Dawn.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Ah. Dawn é a mãe da Edith. Ok. Tem coisas ali pra baixo, não tem? Ah, é o quarto. Que péssima escolha. Vamos subir de novo. Desculpa, gente. Eu vi a mãozinha ali. Eu quis clicar. Hein? Foi sem querer. Bora, filha. Você escalou uma vez, escala duas. É isso. Pronto. A gente vai ter que sair por aqui agora.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Luiz era o irmão dela.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go.
Ah, tá. Eles se mudaram dessa casa depois, né? Quando ela se casou e teve o filho e tal. E aí voltaram quando o pai dela morreu.
I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back
Milton.
and to see kids in the house again.
Brasil.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
Edith. Great job.
But it didn't
É tipo uma
last.
escolinha.
The beginning of the
Eita.
end was Milton's 10th
Calma.
birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Milton. Vamos lá passar. Ok. Isso aqui era do Milton? Meu Deus, cara. Olha. Ele era um artista, mano.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Olha, e realmente, né? Muito lindo, cara, olha. Milton tinha quantos anos? Gente. Vamos conhecer a história do Milton.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
O Milton sumiu, não sumiu?
I was 4 when
92,
Milton disappeared.
2003, tinha 9 anos. Ele desapareceu. Oi? Ele pintou uma porta entrou nela e desapareceu. Tem coisas estranhas acontecendo nessa casa, gente. Sim, não queria nem falar nada, mas de verdade. Tem umas coisas estranhas acontecendo nessa casa. Reveja isso daí, hein? Pelo amor de Deus.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Eu imagino por quê.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Não sei que é pro outro lado, mas... sei lá, vai que... do outro lado. Ah, tem outra escada lá, vamos lá. Porque eu achei que tinha uma outra coisa. Achei que tinha mais coisa, achei que tinha mais coisa.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Não sei pra que lado que eu vou, não. Talvez seja do outro lado mesmo. Não, tem aqui.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Olha que viagem. Eita. Vivia no mundo da lua, digo mesmo.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Olha, apareceu. Me identifiquei. Por um momento aqui, pelo amor de Deus. Mas achei bonito o quarto, viu? Assim, olha que vista da hora. Tudo bem que é uma puta de uma floresta, não, puta de uma floresta, mas olha que vista da hora. Queria, imagina, assim, o meu computador, atrás do computador tivesse assim, uma puta de uma negócio de vidro. Nossa, vocês escutaram? Estralou tudo aqui. Estiquei os braços, tô crocante.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
Começou a ver. Ai, ai, tô batendo no negócio.
wander.
Okay.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth.
Ok. Perdi no labirinto da minha própria mente.
He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats.
É difícil, gente. Eu tenho que guiar ele no labirinto e tenho que cortar os peixes. Deus. Eu não sei.
And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
Gente, que difícil. Peraí, tá difícil. Tô tentando acompanhar ali e aqui. Assim, eu não tenho essa coordenação motora toda.
But he found something more. I worried about him then.
Vocês estão conseguindo ver? Peraí. Pausa aí, eu vou trocar de lugar o negócio, porque talvez vocês não estejam conseguindo ver minha câmera. Ou não conseguindo ver a legenda ali. Por causa da minha câmera. Vou trocar aqui pra vocês. Pronto.
Daydreaming at the cannery,
Acordado na fábrica de reservas.
I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
É, centrado. Piloto automático, o nome disso.
Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Eu tô que nem ele, no piloto automático, no coisinho.
And songs for them to play.
Oh, desculpe. Eu concentrei em um, desconcentrei no outro.
And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger.
Mais forte. Viagem.
He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor.
Realizou uma eleição para prefeito. Ok.
And he won.
E ganhou. Tava na imaginação dele, né? Claro.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
Difícil. Por que eu tenho que ficar cortando o peixe? É, porque é da imaginação
He'd
dele, tá
conquer
bom.
a city, then immediately push
Desculpa.
on.
Eu não sei como ele fazia isso.
New Louisville.
Nova Louisville.
St. Louis.
São Luís.
He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery.
Because the fábrica.
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Caralho. A pessoa tava fazendo hora extra, filho. O patrão tava reclamando, certeza.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Uma linda rainha.
handsome queen.
Ai, 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 ai. Ai, 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 ai. Vou bater, vou bater, vou bater.
The queen was on her own quest for
Peraí, eu quero um arco-íris radiante.
radiant rainbows.
Ok. Se eu for fazer a escolha, eu quero coisa. Arco-íris radiantes. Derrubei arco-íris radiantes. Difícil, meu amigo. Eu vou
Followed
te
the sound
contar.
of her
Sua harpa prateada.
silver harp.
Ui, 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 ui. Ah, eu tenho que... Ai, ai.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic
difícil.
remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Tá bom, mas eu vou... Calma aí, vamos cortar esses peixes primeiro,
He was so
cara.
proud of having created it.
Segura coração. Muito peixe aqui. Tá bom, então vai continuar vindo peixe, ok.
In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
Ok. Eu entendo até porque, né? Mano. Que diazinha merda. Diazinho merda.
He began to forget the world we know.
Ah, ele achou que ele
I
tava
think it pained
subindo.
him to remember Louis, the cannery worker.
Nossa, que lugarzinho merda, na moral.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Esse era o Luiz?
I still thought I could save him. even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder.
Meus amigos.
The palace would be packed with his companions.
Meus amigos, eu posso dar
Including the
também?
wise Calico had insisted on advising him.
Olha o gatinho mole.
His queen waited, holding his crown.
Meus amigos, meus amigos.
There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Ah, não gostei dessa ideia. Isso não parece uma coisa boa.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Os sinceros sentimentos.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Triste, novamente. Puta história triste, mano. Estávamos procurando o quarto da Dem. Deve ser Dem, né? Ok.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
Que isso? Tá crocante? Caracas. Mas é verdade, né? Só o Milton que a gente não sabe o que aconteceu com ele,
But I
simplesmente
understand why we left.
desapareceu. Eu também entendo porque vocês iriam embora. Entendo muito
My
bem.
mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Bom, ela tinha a pretensão de levar algumas coisas, mas aparentemente
What
não deu
happened
muito
that night had
certo.
been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Ai, vira? Não tá virando. Ok. Ah, tá. Aqui é uma...
But it had to
Escada.
end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Que quarto bonito. Bagunçado, porém bonito. Edith, eu acho. Ah, é o quarto da Andy. Ok, pera.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Ok, estamos jogando de novo.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
Eu não sei não, hein?
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
É, de certa forma, parece que a mãe dela queria proteger eles.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Mas eu não sei exatamente do que, né? As histórias dos
Dear
Finches.
Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
Ah, estamos jogando. Ok, maré baixou,
It
maré
was the
baixou.
first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Ah, droga. Não gostei, mano.
I
Eu vou
got
continuar indo em
turned
frente.
around.
Não, mentira. Não dei, não. Tem uma pedra aqui, eu vou assim. Pera, eu sei que tem a pedra aqui. Eu vou dar uma volta. Olhar. A pedra tá aqui. Ok, tem alguma coisa lá pra trás?
For a while, I wondered.
Cadê? Eu perdi a pedra. Não tá aqui a pedra. Eu não vou me perder, eu me recuso a me perder. Tá bom, vamos pra cá, eu acho. Ai, caracas.
I started seeing things.
Sempre em frente, sempre em
Things I'd
frente.
forgotten had ever existed.
Ok.
But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
Não, mano, não, mano, não.
I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car.
Cadê a história? Eu quero saber o que vai acontecer naquela coisa.
I never saw Great Grandma Edie again.
Eu queria saber o que ia acontecer lá, velho.
The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
Ela já tinha ido embora?
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it.
Quem nunca tentou fazer isso na janela do carro? Quem nunca?
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it.
Oxi.
I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
Gente, realmente essa família tem uns problemas. Eu imaginei outra coisa.
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Ah, é o filho dela. Tá vendo? Falei que era ela contando a história pro filho. E a gente não vai saber o que tinha naquela casa que a véia queria contar, né? Olha, eu achei o jogo incrível. Não sei vocês, mas me digam aí o que vocês acharam do jogo, que olha, maravilhoso. Muitas histórias incríveis de verdade. Deixa nos comentários também alguma sugestão de jogo que vocês gostariam de ver. E é isso. Muito obrigada, gente. Não se esquece de deixar aquele likezinho, comentar pra gente, e se inscrever no canal, ativar os sininhos, me seguir nas redes sociais, que eu não sei onde tá, mas tá por aqui, em algum lugar. Confia. E me segue lá na Twitch também, tô sempre fazendo lives lá de terça, quarta e sexta, tá? Então é isso. Beijo pra vocês e até o próximo vídeo.